Hi everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. So I just want to cue the Etta James because at last these books are done. So I'm so happy. I've been working on these for months. There are 4 new volumes of the Artist Sampler journals. These are sort of a reflection of an art studio, my art studio, a peek into an artist's kind of materials and the things that they have in their studio, a little sampling of a lot of different things, swatches, fabrics, all sorts of things. So this is the first of the next 4 volumes, volume 3. So volume 3, the covers are the same on all of these in that it's the same book that they're inside. It was a vintage DIY encyclopedia book series. And so they have sort of a slate bluish cover and kind of navy almost. And so on the front of each of these, it's a little different, but similar. So first we have one of my metallic paint swatches that are on vintage ledger paper from the 1800s, antique actually, and I've embossed it because it's on the cover of the book. I want it to be durable, right? So then I've added here, this is a piece of linoleum probably from the 1960s. It washed up in the ocean in Newfoundland when I was on the beach, a big piece of it. I mean, it could have come from Japan, who knows? So I've been using it on these books. I'm very much in love with this piece of linoleum. Don't ask, I just really love it. So then I've added on top of here, this is actually a Tim Holtz, Tim Holtz metal book plate. So I've stitched it on. It is attached to the linoleum, and I have stitched it on here because it didn't have holes to screw it on, and I'm never comfortable just gluing metal onto something. So then here we have some vintage stamps that are on the cover of the book as well, and I have stitched right onto this book this bit of fabric here. This is a little freeform quilt that I make. I use those applications in several different things in my studio using up scraps of fabric. And this is one of my handmade ceramic buttons here. This is a piece of driftwood, and these are giant brads that attach it to the cover. And it has been wrapped in some purpley hand-spun wool yarn. So that's the cover of this one. All of these have eyelets with seam binding. This is a vintage brown, chestnut brown seam binding. Here on the spine, this is eco-dyed fabric that I then swatched with acrylic paints. There's a little tiny 3 here to show volume 3, and this carries over onto the back of the book quite a ways. Here's a look at the top. These books have 8 signatures. You see there's a little bit of stuff coming out of them. So then there is a spine dangle that's eyeletted through the book. It is non-removable. This is a wooden button that I made, felt beads, a little shashi mirror felt bead, a little wooden wheel kind of woodcut, a crocheted circle, vintage buttons and beads, a little skull bead, a Dominion Lock Company key from Montreal, handmade paper buttons, a little bird, more fun beads, silk flower, this little crystal, a little Peruvian worry doll, this little egg, another of those buttons, the same as the one on the cover, a little woodcut owl that's made by Pork Chop Scotty, who used to be on Etsy. I don't know that he is anymore. Sometimes he is, sometimes he isn't. I think he has an actual store now, so it's harder to get his woodcuts. Vintage flower button, one of my handmade measuring tape beads, and a little Barbie hand, because it's me. So anyhow, let's get on into this book. So these are big books. I would say that they're not gator mouth, but they're a little bit chunky, but I think there's room to add to them if you want to. And I've given a long amount of seam binding to tie close, so you can add and you can tie it up. So for the end papers, I've done the same sort of method in all of the books. They are these really nice alcohol ink papers. The front has a pocket that's just stuffed with a few little bits and bobs. So these are some digital like art paraphernalia. I'm working on a digital kit of these. It's not ready yet. I'm still working on it because I'm slow as molasses sometimes. And then this is watercolor paper with beautiful Artisan metallic shimmery watercolors. The front page of each book, it kind of opens in a similar way in that I have used a vintage photograph because I love opening a journal with a vintage photo. It's just something about it that just makes me really happy. So this is a pocket. I've embellished it with more of these little bits. You'll see these throughout the book because they're from the digital that I worked on for this series. Like interesting brushes, like this one's kind of a witch brush. It looks like a broom at the end and it has a paintbrush there, some swatches, a bottle swatch. So this is a vintage photo of this beautiful house, and it's a little quote here. So I have this book that is about artist sketchbooks, and there's all sorts of quotes from different artists inside. So this one is, "Can always remember the moments that led up to the drawing and what was said while it was drawn. The books are like time capsules for me." So the reflections on journals and sketchbooks and art. So inside we have a journal card. It's collaged with this. I used lots of 49 and Market. This is their Spectrum Floral. So it's like, you know, a Roy G. Biv range of flowers. And I added it here. This is some painty book page. And I also use my digital kit from Etsy, the vintage watercolor ledger kit. So that's this. You'll see both originals and the digitals because there's just a lot of swatching in these books. I think that's probably my favorite kind of part about this. Then some just fun paper back here and a little snip of paint down there from a cover of a sketchbook, I think, or possibly a paint pack. And these are a sample of my fabric clusters that I make. So this one has a rub-on cotton, and this one is a fabric stitched cluster. It's on cabbage dyed paper. This is another collection that you'll see through of these digitals of all these different things like pots of paint, pencil crayons, markers, like just a rainbow assortment of art materials. Then we have this little pocket from my own design of all these paintbrushes. And then this is a vintage postcard that has some of my bits on the front from my digital I'm working on. It has a lovely landscape. It has all the original writing on the back. It's from 1982, and it's a nice little note. And then I just hinged on some writing space from some eco-dyed yellow paper that I got, and it's just like a little bit of writing space. So it's fun to have that original ephemera, but then there was nothing to write on. So I thought, oh, I'll just add that for something to write on. I tend in my journals to try to replace any writing space that I don't provide. Like if it's a busy page, I'll usually put a pocket there or something, right? So this pocket here is collaged. It's 49 and Market paper, and then these are some little swatches from a swatch book. This is an original ledger page. So it folds out. It is dated. It's from Winnipeg. 1934. Yes. So this is from 1934, this page. So let me take off this piece of ephemera. I'll just set these all aside so you can see the page. So that's the swatch page. I left the back with just the original writing. It's really nice writing. It's like a really cool book. So then this is a larger kind of journal card booklet stationery piece. So that's from the digital that I'm working on. So that just clips on the flap with a rusted paper clip. Then over here in the pocket, this is a tag that I collaged. It's like an artist's playlist. It's got these playlist kind of things. I made it during Junk Journal July. Now you'll also find pages in here from an art journal that's about like exploring the world. So this is the back side, and it's like a grate from like a road grate. And then back here, it says item, children's play stove, materials found, cardboard, tape, plastic, lids, electrical tape, original made out of wood by grandfather circa 1972. So some of these will have like activities or projects or instructions on how to be. It's from the book How to Be an Explorer in the World, and it's like artsy kind of things you can do when you go out into the world. So there's a little pocket here with this liquid Indian ink glued down bit, and this is a tag that I made from watercolor and inking and just had a lot of fun with. It's stitched around. Then this is a little April calendar agenda kind of card page. It's a card stock. And over here I've added a little paint palette. And in here is a little paper from the Stamperia Atelier des Arts collection of just a studio. And that just pops in here. Then the paper behind it is actually from a woman whose estate that I bought, her weaving studio, basically her looms, and she had been in the 70s. She was like in the executive of the Toronto Spinning and Weaving Guild, and so she collected all of these beautiful samples from different yarn stores around the world, and they have all the original yarns on them, and they're just so fun. Nice sample pages. Then this little pocket here with the paint palette behind, a work of art which did not begin in emotion is not art, Cezanne, and that is actually I believe from the Graphics Fairy. We have some lined paper. This is a sampling of my hand-painted washi tapes that I made. And then just a pretty, I forget where I got the digitals from. I completely forget, but here is a Munsell Color Atlas. Coffee dyed paper, more of my washi tape. Over here we have this little tuck belly band, and then this is a piece from my collection that I'm working on, and it's a journal card. Another of the yarn sample papers, so it's got, you know, typewritten with the yarn, and it's from Sutton, Quebec. A little bit of fun washi tape there. And Exploration 5, the first thing you see. Start a collection based on the first found object you see on your walk, whatever that is. You decide what the connection between the objects is. Can be based on shape, color, size, etc. And then things that tie, so you could do something over here if you wanted. The sculptor Henry Moore collected bones, flints, driftwood, seashells, pebble, whale vertebrae, and other various found objects. He used all of these things as sources for his own work, as well as using them in natural sculptures. In a 1960s IBM film about the computer, there is a good description of the creative process. The narrator states that the artist is never bored. She looks at everything and stores it all up. She rejects nothing. She is completely uncritical. When a problem confronts her, she goes through all the stuff she has collected, sorts out what seems to be helpful in this situation, and relates it in a new way, making a new solution. She prepares for leaps by taking in everything. Corita Kent. That's the other side of that antique ledger paper. So over here I've added this little envelope, and I've used it also as a pocket, so you have like a double pocket. Art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life, Pablo Picasso. And then we have this journal card as well with David there and a little easel behind him, and that tucks into the pocket. Some bullet page paper, and then the pencil crayons on the back here with this pocket. Wednesday, November 23rd. A long time ago, when I still lived in Nova Scotia, I sometimes took my watercolors, my brushes, and my easel out into the meadows. I settled down to an afternoon of painting, and sometimes farmers came by to watch what I was doing. At first, I felt a little guilty. There I was, dabbling away, while they had to work hard in the fields. Then one day I realized how interested they were in the way I mixed the colors and put them on the canvas. They looked upon my painting as something creative and not as a foolish pastime, as I had wrongly assumed. Work can be many things, and it does not have to be physical to be rewarding. If you don't enjoy the work you do, it becomes drudgery. That I made into a little journal card. It's from a heritage book by a Canadian author. Her name is, let me see, Edna McCann. cabbage dyed paper that I made. So there's a lot of sampling of my papers throughout here that I make. That's another part of the art sample concept. You'll see a little bit more as I get into the book. Another page of the samples of my fabric clusters. This is a flake white paint tube here. Just some spattery pretty paper. This is a sampling of my vintage and antique stamp collection on coffee dyed paper. This is a page with paint pots, and held on by a rusted paper clip is another of these sample cards. This one has old yarn and strings on it from the same collection from Toronto, Crewel Brothers Specialties, and I figured that would be a fun journal card. Over here we have a little part of my digital pocket on black paper. Did I skip a page? Yes, I did. I'm sorry. So there's this page. And this is a sampling of Renaissance art, I believe. Yes, they're color shifting watercolors. And they color shift and they are metallic. And they're a lot of fun. Hopefully you can see the color shifting on camera. I know sometimes it can be a little weird to see. So then over here is the pocket I was talking about, and it says art is the essence of beauty. That's a Semperia sticker. And then this is from a book. It's just a really cute painting of this woman kind of resting in a chair reading a paper, and there's her studio chair and her little studio table with her tea and her little paint pot. This is a sampling of my stamp collection. So some of the stamps in my collection. Over here we have another exploration page, World of Color. Collect paint chips from a paint or hardware store. Find colors you respond to in the world. Attempt to match them using the chips. You can also match the colors using a portable paint set. Make notes of where you saw the colors. Alternate. Document colors from your favorite books, your dreams, your memories. And then I added one of my little metallic watercolor paint swatches here. Exploration 8, cracks. Map out pavement cracks in your neighborhood. So many fun ideas. I thought that these were a really nice addition to these books. This is a sampling of my sticker collection. This is just a little fun Spectrum 49 and Market. This was an art collection, I forget, like Art Inspirations I think it's called, and I just love the rainbows and the spectrum. Another page sampling of my sticker collection. Exploration 6, Archaeological Dig. Collect objects that relate to your childhood or inspire memories. Write a brief story to accompany each object. Alternate. Recreate objects from your childhood using found objects or readily available materials such as cardboard, glue, string, tape, leaves, wood, or rocks. You may choose to recreate your childhood room on a miniature scale using found materials. And then there's a little write-up here about playing with scale. I won't read everything in this book because I'm sure you guys, don't need me to read to you forever. Try not to make the video too long. And then these are some fun paint chips courtesy of Benjamin Moore. My favorite bowl, Jen's hair color, the mailbox, my desk, dead weeds. Like, it's just a cool little page. Then these are little watercolors of my own from my digital kit that I'm working on. Some of my stamp collection again. This is a little tuck spot made from these brushes. This was from a book cover. This is like a tall journal card, basically, and it is from my digital. It is from the vintage watercolor ledger swatches. And it is on black paper that on the back we have another sampling of color shifting watercolors. And then this pretty paper here. Then over here, this is the original spine of the book. So this was the Illustrated Do-It-Yourself Encyclopedia, Popular Science Edition, Volume 4. And it is on one of those painty collection sort of paint pots, digitals. And then this is a journal card. I did add some sort of like master's art throughout here, and I thought this was really cute. This little girl, they're in this gallery. And then this little Paris China paint or China ink glued down onto coffee dyed paper. Another sampling of my vintage and antique stamps. And then this is a little corner pocket with a paintbrush and scissors on some 49 and Market paper. And then this is like a little kind of booklet that you can write on the inside. And it says structure. Document part of a building that most people ignore. Examples include the ceilings, bathrooms, corners, closets, and insides of drawers. Pay attention to the hidden places. Alternate. Document the corners of your home. So, you know, it's just like, I feel like these are the kind of inspirations that artists keep, you know. I think we all keep different kinds of inspirations in our studio, and I like that, being a part of these books. So this is a sampling of my fabrics that I have stitched onto coffee dyed paper. And on back, I have left the stitching there because I think it creates kind of a nice lined paper. Then this is sort of a collage, but it is also from that vintage collection of weaving samples. This is a felt sample, a wool felt sample. These are all original, stapled on the original paper from Vale Ridge Crafts in Maryville Crescent, Thornhill, Ontario. So these are from like the 70s, 60s. This is one of my little original watercolor paint swatches that I've added on here. And inside, this is from Stamperia. Little piece of stationery that says art is not just a painting, and it's on a palette kind of page, lined paper on back, and another page of my stickers, my sticker collection. Then more 49 and Market paper, one of my little watercolor palette pockets there, and this is from Release the Craftin. She did a really nice swatch collection. This is a quote from David Bowie that says, "Put on your red shoes and dance the blues." And of course we have these pretty watercolory red tones. Another Munsell Color Atlas. And this is a belly band made from a watercolor palette, and then another journal card made from a watercolor palette. These are all part of my collection. And little Chinese white paint tube from Winsor & Newton, and a little swatch from my collection. Coffee dyed paper with more of my stickers. And this page has this pocket here on this palette, and it has "Drawing feels like a really raw, honest way of expressing myself," from that art quote book. And then I made this tag from a sketchbook page in a book of botanicals, and I stitched on one of my fabric. This is the same material that the spine is covered with. And then over here, this is a little snip from a sketchbook with some writing from that sketchbook book, and then a little collection of paints that I made for my collection. And then we have the fabric samples again stitched on, and then paper clipped on here. "Don't wait for inspiration, it comes while working." Henri Matisse, and that's on 49 and Market paper. Spectrum Gardenia. Now this is the middle signature, and what this is literally a sampling of all the different colors of my hand-dyed paper that I currently had on hand, and I've added some here and there, some fabric washi tape from 49 and Market's Spectra collection as well, and it's really beautiful swatching. So we have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink. So that's like a range of the papers that I have dyed right now, that I have in my studio that I use. A little bit of blue there. There we go. Then this is more 49 and Market paper. This is an upper tuck pocket on a paint pot page there. And then this is actually art by Josie Lewis, who has an awesome YouTube channel. And it's on a paint stained index card. This came to me from Thrifted Goods, oddly enough. I found a whole collection of like her artwork, like the things that she would send out probably with an original painting, and I was so happy to find them and get to use them. This is a pretty landscape with the color swatched, and then more of my fabric here with the stitched lines. This page we have these big wide paint brushes, a belly band made from my vintage ledger swatches, and this is like a large stationery page with lined paper on the back. Everything is interesting. Everything has a value, provided it appears at the right place at the right time. It's a matter of recognizing that value, that quality, and then to transform it into something that can be used. If you come across something valuable and tuck it away in your metaphorical suitcase, there's sure to come a moment when you can make use of it. Jürgen Bay. So that goes in here. And then in front of it is a tag that I made from just this gorgeous paper that I found at my local scrapbook store. This is like a little kind of slot pocket here, and it has a journal card inside made from 49 and Market paper. It's a sampling of basically my commercial paint swatches, and they have stamps. There's a stamp on each one. And then I have these little glued down bits here on some dyed paper. And then the other side of the sampling of the paint swatches that has this fun piece of paper. This is stationery from 49 and Market. It has these lovely geographical maps on it. And that just tucks on in there. And then this is a pocket here with this little hand-painted paint pot, and then a swatched, original painted book page from an old book. It's a tag for writing. More of the stitchy page and the fabrics. More of the landscape and the paint pots. Then this little piece of paper, we have a little Winsor & Newton paint tube pocket, and then this journal card inside. This is a stamped sample stamp from Waffle Flower, and I have painted in here Artisan metallic iridescent acrylics. This is a sketched body model with paint brushes behind, and this is from an art book, just an interesting bit of inking. A little pot of paintbrushes there from my collection. This is a sampling of my handmade tabs. This one's from Louisa Heinzel. This is from the private sketchbooks. This little pocket here is from that sketchbook book cover, and then this is one of my digitals with the swatching on the back. This is out of a book of like painters sort of combinations and swatches here. This was for creating hair colors. Another little snippet from my digital. Exploration 9, Case of Curiosities. Collect objects that you do not understand or have meaning for. I won't read everything, but there's some more fun there. This is about choosing everyday objects to, find inspiration in. I won't read everything. You guys will tire of my voice, I know. And then what I like to do sometimes, instead of folding in pages, I like to create like a ruffle kind of. So like it's still a fold out, but the fold's in the middle. So this is again about the cracks, like mapping the cracks in the street. And over here, Case of Very Small Things, Found Alphabet, Rubber Lobster, Frog, Smooth Stone, Spool. So it's like she took an old tin, and then she put cardboard dividers and then added little miniature things just for inspirations. Another little painted bit from my collection. More of my digital and my tabs collection. This one here, this paper one, is an Amity Bloom. The others are my own stitch collages. This is another little painted palette that I made. Then over here on this paper with the ends of those fun painty paintbrushes is a collaged pocket that I made with an original painting of these swatch colors from Artisan. And then this is Beam Paints. And then this is Liquid Indian ink, a little glue down there. And then this is a little sampling of my colorization of old photos. So I did this during Junk Journal July. It's a tag, and I just love her so much. So this is an actual antique photo, and I myself colorized it with a vintage kit for colorizing photos. This is more of the metallic iridescent paint swatches. And then this is a sampling of quotes, because that's a part of my studio, using verses and words and quotes. So these are all from the Heritage book that I showed you earlier. And it has great things. Compromise is the art of cutting a cake so that everybody believes he or she got the biggest piece. So I won't read all of them, but I did intersperse different things like stamps and stickers to just give the page interest. It's on coffee dyed paper. This is a clustered pocket down here with this journal card inside, and back here this palette of chalks and pencil crayons. Then we have an actual vintage photo here and here and here. So these were pages that I made very vintage, I think, during Junk Journal July. So this was cardstock that I did a bunch of mixed media to. And this is a sampling of vintage photos from my studio. It's a little boy picking flowers here, and a little boy in a bunk bed, and a little tiny house. And then in the pocket is this painted and collaged with my Digital Bits book page journal card. And over here we have this little pocket that says, I love the way I see the world differently since I started drawing. I like seeing how everything relates to everything else. And then we have this little, this is a painting from the artist's sketchbook, and I thought I would make a little journal card out of it there. Just a beautiful digital page with swatches. The other side of that page with more vintage photos. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, Leonardo da Vinci. This says June 1961. Another little pocket with pencil, crayons, and chalks. And then this is like a spectrum page from a magazine, and I've added some fun stickers from Stamperia. More of those fun quotes. It isn't necessary to blow out the other person's light to let your own shine. This is a sampling, a vintage sampling of fibers, wools, for blending and weaving. A work of art which did not begin in emotion is not art, Cezanne. And then we have some of my bits here. More little 49er market paper. And this is a sample page of stitching, different stitches on my sewing machine. This is a sample page of swatched beam paints, watercolors. And this is a little pocket here made from this paper house, and it has little bits of masking tape, and it's about your favorite street. Go to your favorite street. If you can't go there physically, then you can visit in your mind, map it out on a piece of paper, then describe or otherwise document everything in detail: the shops, houses, street signs, trees, etc. And then we have this, it's a little pencil drawing of a still life of pears. It's a journal card, another of my digital watercolor pages. And here we have a couple fun little art cards. Over here, this little road kind of continues the thought from that last page. I used it as a pocket, and we have an ink pot with a bug that's been drawn on some painted paper, and a couple of little painty journal cards. The other side of that beam paint swatch and the stitching. Last page is this digital chalks page, and then this is a cyanotype image with a little pot of paint there that I painted, and this is the kind of pockety belly bandy bit that I added at the bottom to hold it. And then in the back, I didn't add any pockets. I again used that same paper. You can also see my eco-printed fabric back here. That's what's underneath to strengthen the hand-built spine. And then just my Studioloo signature stamp and the date. And I just made it kind of pretty. These are very pretty. It's like my little final thought on the book. So that is volume 3. There will be 3 more videos after this one for volumes 4, 5, and 6, and I hope you enjoyed them. I'm sorry if they're a little chatty, but there's lots to show you in there. So thank you for hanging out with me. Bye for now.